Welcome to this video about the complete clauses and subordinate clauses, Helsetning or Leddsetning. So first we just start with Helsetning, which doesn't generally cause a problem in Norwegian. It's the one that you have in basic in Norwegian. So when we say Helsetning, it basically means the whole complete phrase. It's the complete Helsetning, the whole phrase, but it means the complete phrase. Usually it's from punctuation to punctuation, but you can connect two Helsetning or two complete phrases with each other. Then you often with og eller men, and then you have comma in front. I will not mention when we get to subordinate clause. Be aware that when you start with one of these, you start a new complete phrase that follows this pattern. You learn in the basic that you have the noun, subject. So verb, adverb, object. So in this context, all adverbs. Han kjører ofte bilen, han kjører ikke bilen, han kjører aldri bilen. If you have time, place, you have to change the location of the verb. It stays in the same, so it will be before the noun or subject. So, I dag kjører han ofte bilen. I dag kjører han ikke bilen, etc. You have the verb inversion. So this is very basic A1. When we get to the subordinate clause, that's the one that generally causes problems. So here I will just first have a very brief version that would be sufficient all the way to advanced level, and then we will have a more detail at the end. So what is a Leddsetning? Led, it's a part of something whole. So and so it's a part of a or connection, a part of a whole phrase, or it can be also a part of another part. You can have, we will not use so much example of that, but you can have subordinate clauses in subordinate clauses, but that it's not so much used because it will be difficult phrases. But to show the difference, Helsetning, complete phrase, jeg kan se at han ofte gjør en dårlig jobb. For instance, you could of course say, jeg kan se deg, which we'll get to in the end. But then, this would just be a complete phrase, but then instead of deg, here we have at han ofte gjør en dårlig jobb. At, typical, you have then, we'll have a subordinate clause, ofte, would be, jeg kan ofte se. It would be after the verb if it was not part of the subordinate clause. Of course, this is the segment that's the subordinate clause. Ofte, han gjør ofte en dårlig jobb if you didn't have the subordinate clause, but here, subordinate clause, ofte is in front of the verb. Jeg kan se, it's the rest of the phrase. So, this is the complete phrase, subordinate clause, part of the whole, and then the rest. Hun spør om hun ikke søkte på jobben. Hun spør deg, the same, but instead of they, you have a part that's included, om hun ikke søkte på jobben. So another indication that's a subordinate clause and ikke in front of the verb. And then the rest of the phrase. So in short version, if you remember these, when you have these words, when it's da, it can have different meaning, but then if it means time, and it's not a question, then it's a subordinate clause. Then you have two basic rules. Adverbs has the same location as in English. So the adverbs that is after the verb in English in regular phrases will be after the verb in Norwegian. Han kjører langsomt. Han sier at han kjører langsomt. He drives slowly, so slowly will be after the verb regardless. The other ones, that's one that's in front, will be in front of the verb. Han sier at han ikke kjører. He says that he don't drive. Number 2, if the subordinate clause is first, then it will have a comma after it, and then you will have the verb first in the next phrase. This is something that causes a lot of issue, particularly the verb part, but so, hvis han ikke kommer I morgen, you notice it's a subordinate clause because of hvis, ikke in front of the verb, because it's subordinate clause, comma, verb inversion. Next one. Vi må også jobbe i helga hvis han ikke kommer i morgen. See, it's the exact same phrase. Subordinate clause at the end. No comma. Når jeg ikke er på jobb, spiller jeg dataspill. Når. It's another indication. Subordinate clause. Ikke in front of the verb. Comma, and then I play a verb inversion. Or the last one, if you have the last one, you don't have comma. I play computer games when I'm not at work. Jeg spiller dataspill når jeg ikke er på jobb. Of course, ikke will continue stay in front of the verb. It's just a comma about the placement. Yeah, so if you understand all this, you're good to go when it comes to subordinate clause. When you speak, it's very difficult to remember and to practice it, because this is kind of mistake, particularly the verb inversion is causing issues when people is speaking, because this, which indicates it's a subordinate clause, can be way ahead of the verb inversion, so that causes some issue. Yeah, so what I mentioned before, if you need a C1, the best passing grade on the Bergen test, yeah, the subordinate clause, if you know everything I mentioned so far, you should know enough about subordinate clause to get this grade. So the last part of the video is just to show some of the more logic about it, because subordinate clause, just to understand it if you have interest in understanding. So the subordinate clause is substantiviske, adjektiviske, or adverbiale. So they have the function as a noun, as an adjective, or as an adverb. So as I mentioned before, this in the phrases they, but then they could be replaced like a subordinate clause. So, okay, yeah, this was not this one. So if you start with the substantiviske, they act as a noun. Han trist, he is sad. At vi skal jobbe i morgen trist. That we are going to work tomorrow is sad. So han is here complete. We have put in a subordinate clause instead. It has the exact same function. Then also when you see it like this, it also makes sense that you have the verb there. Why shouldn't you have the verb there? It would be technically in the second location, because you have the noun first. Jeg tror på historien. I believe the story. So it's an object. Jeg tror at han ikke kommer i morgen. Yeah. So again, it has a noun function. The one adjectivistic phrases, or the one who act like an adjective, they are quite simple. Also, it's the one that just start with some, that's it. So, jeg snakket med en ung mann. Jeg snakket med en mann som ikke kan komme til festen i morgen. Some, you see ikke in front of the verb. There's no comma as it's in the end. And, yeah, it just explain the man. It's act like an adjective. It gives explanation, description about the man. Yeah. Jeg foretrekker den gule bilen. Jeg foretrekker bilen som har en gul farge. Technically means the same thing. The second one, it's a subordinate clause. The reason this I mentioned now is, and that you will find a lot of exception, is because of the adverbial subordinate clauses. This is just some example. There's a whole list. There's in numerous words and it's not only the words, it can also be context where something become a subordinate clause. That makes it very complex to go from the very advanced to 100% perfection. So, but just quickly, in adverbial, where it acts like an adverb, it can replace like I dag, today. It can be time, når han ikke jobber. Like I dag, it's a time expression. exact same place, you could put når han ikke jobber, subordinate clause. The causes, why something happened, because, fordi han alltid kjeder seg. Følgesetning as a consequence, or a betingelses condition, dersom, it's the synonym for hvis, as we mentioned before. As a consequence, så jeg fortalte det slik at han kunne, I told it so that he could. A reason for, purpose for something. So here you have another, so here you also see so, which it makes it difficult at this, when you, that's why I just give the rule of thumb. So can have different meanings, it can mean then, but here it is like a cause. So jeg gikk på jobb, så gikk jeg til lunsj. Yeah. There's just like a time expression, just verb inversion, no subordinate clauses. Same word. In this context, it's a subordinate clause. It's a purpose for something. Jeg gikk til disse seng, så jeg ikke vil forsove meg. I went early to bed, so that I didn't overslept. Yeah. Admission. Even though I was tired, I went to the party. Even though enda jeg ikke var trett, even though I wasn't tired. Gikk jeg ikke på festen. I didn't go to the party. And then also here, comparison. Valeria er penere enn det han nesten solgte. So, if you have... This also is an... If you have a negative there, it's... it will be it will be in front of the verb. So all of these, generally, I don't encounter too much. Generally, n, like in comparison, you generally don't use a negative. That's why it doesn't generally cause an issue. This one we already mentioned, når fordi. Slik at, you already have the at. This one, it's the one that causes problems, but very rarely do you see it. So in a Bergen test exam, it's highly unlikely you would create a phrase like this, but if you want to impress, of course, you can remember something like this. So if you just, in the end here, just have an example. This phrase, do not have subordinate clauses. Gutten var I går med en ung kvinne I byen. The boy was yesterday with a young woman in the city. Gutten som ikke kom på jobb. Added a subordinate clause. It just added information. Fordi han var syk. Another information, which is explanation for the another subordinate clause. So it's a part of another part. Var. This, etter han hadde drukket I går. Yeah, I går. It's a subordinate clause. Instead of just I går. Med en kvinne som var ung I byen. Yeah. And then I just use this one. So, of course, this. So that's why you don't get so many. And this is just to give an illustration. Of course, it will become kind of overly with these so many phrases, but hopefully that give you at least an idea of the what's the logic behind Leddsetninger. But what you need to master them is just the rule of thumbs and a lot of training when it comes to verbal communication, particularly the verb inversion. So try to repeat a lot of subordinate clauses in your head and then say them out loud so you hear them yourself, like subordinate clauses, and then a next phrase with verb. Hope that made sense. In usual, the PDF for the files is under the video. Thank you.